Hey guys, it's Tim Gillette, and I'm back here with another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. So I've been interviewing 100 people in 30 days. That's our current challenge. It's what I'm working on, and it means that I have a lot of conversations, and I try to book a time real quick sometimes, or in some cases, you can go through and book it through timgillette.com/podcast interview to apply to be on the show. But in this case today, it resulted in a phone call because I did something that this person teaches me to do, and I've done it. So I did it, and because of that, he picked up his phone and called me. And I said, well, I've got a slot available this afternoon. You want it? He said, yep, let's do it. So this guy, if you know me, you know him, all right? It's just the way the industry is. You know it because I've always pointed to him for things he's taught me, things he does, relationship. When he's in Dallas, sometimes we hang out and I drive him places. I become his chauffeur. I don't mind because to me, it's like tapping into the knowledge fire hose. So to me, Casey Eberhart, I met Casey through, I want to say it was either through Craig Duswalt or Carol Shockley. One of the two introduced me to him. And I totally hit it off. All right. I think we've been close friends ever since. We actually do a lot of things to help each other's networks. And the fact that I think this is between all of my shows, he's been on every one of them, and he's going to be on here, the Tim Gillette Show today. So let's bring him on screen here. Casey Eberhart, how you doing?
I am doing so awesome, Tim. It ought to be a sin. Welcome to another amazing, fun, controversial conversation, I'm sure.
Oh, we're gonna have a I can't even say it.
We're going to have some fun.
So, Casey, I did today exactly one of the things you teach to actually build your community, uplift your community, and show them you care. I'm sending out a group of texts today. Hey, I'm just reaching out to check up on you. How are you doing? What did Casey Eberhart do?
Yeah, I picked up the phone and called you.
But has there ever been a time, Casey, that you and I have not, we don't have to schedule a call. We just literally, Casey, I got to ask you something. And you pick up the call for me almost any time I call, and that's always been a privilege, but the habit of calling your people. Talk to me about, let's tell everybody about why we do that and how you started talking about doing that.
Yeah, well, so Tim, first off, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. It's always an honor and a privilege to be asked to come share with an audience of somebody who I respect and value. And so I just want to say thank you, first off, for just being a great dude that is willing to have me on your show and feel like your tribe and your audience are a group of people that want to move their business forward. And I may be able to bring some insight, maybe a different perspective, a different flavor to it. So it's truly an honor to be here. So first off, thank you. Secondly, to the audience, thank you guys for jumping on here. I know that there are 18 trillion things that you could be doing. You could be literally scrolling through Facebook, and for whatever reason, my ugly mug, Tim's great mug showed up. Or maybe you're on iTunes and you happen to run into this podcast completely by happenstance. Whatever the reason that you're here, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending a few minutes to engage in a conversation about what I believe to be one of the most valuable concepts that people miss in the area of business. And that's this. Connectivity is today's new currency. And if you take nothing away other than that from today, know that that's the case. And as we move further in time, this becomes increasingly important to our businesses. That connectivity with your network, connectivity with your friends, connectivity with your prospects, connectivity with your customers, connectivity with your referral partners, connectivity with your raving fans, connectivity to the marketplace is in fact a tradable asset, much like currency. Mm-hmm. And the reason that Tim and I can jump on a quick call and have a phone call back and forth is because we both understand the value of connectivity and the currency of connectivity. This happened to me just yesterday. I was on Facebook. I created this post, had a bunch of engagement, and an old dear friend of mine, in fact, he and I hosted a podcast together probably 12 years ago, even before they even almost called them podcasts. It was so long ago. And he responded to my Facebook post, and I just nudged him and I said, hey, you and I haven't talked forever. I'd love to connect up with you. Literally within 15 seconds, he picked up the phone and called me. And I was a little bit shocked because this is a big influential player in the digital marketing agency space. And we ended up, not only did we have an amazing conversation about old times, he helped me unlock one roadblock in one of the businesses that I run that was worth $50,000, $100,000 in that one conversation. And then it ended with both of us inviting each other on each other's podcast. Now, the reason that that occurs is because the connectivity piece, the ability to stay connected, is so valuable. And the businesses and the business owners and the entrepreneurs that understand this at its core, fundamental core value level are going to outperform for years and years to come. Because as customers, right, as people that are buying stuff out in the marketplace, we want to know that our business is valued. We want to be appreciated. So if you know how you want to be treated as a customer, and you can flip that into how you operate your business, you guys, there's the key. It unlocks doors, it unlocks windows, it unlocks sheds, it unlocks the treasure chest of business. It just does.
And you know, and we were talking on the phone earlier today. I still remember years ago, and I forget what it was. You needed I think it was like 3 or 4 more sales to make your sales goal, something for the month. I don't even remember what program you were running at the time. And he calls me, Tim, it's $60. All right. Can you do it for me? Yeah, Casey, here's my credit card. I don't even know what I bought.
Yeah.
Casey, here's my credit card.
and the reason that worked, Tim, the reason that worked,
yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason that worked is because so much value or so much connectivity was done in the pre-sales phase of that conversation that I knew that I could pick up the phone and say, hey, I need one more sale to make a goal. Yeah, right. Yeah. Can I count on you to be a participant of that? Yeah. Had you and I not been connected, had you and I not understood the value of staying connected or the value of connectivity, that wouldn't have worked. I mean, I can call right now. There's 8 million people I could call right now and go, hey, I'm up against a sales goal. I need one last quick goal before the end of the month. Can you help me out? And then first off, I would never get that far. They'd hang up. Mm-hmm. Or number one, they'd say you're pushy or salesy or you're obnoxious or you're spammy or all of those things, because that's not how we want to be treated as a potential customer or as a paying customer of someone.
Yeah. So, and I remember though, because, again, we can go anywhere with the conversation. We're sitting down with another good mutual friend we have, Maurice Tomino, and we're sitting having lunch.
Mama mia.
Yeah. I got to get Maurice on here. We're sitting down having lunch, and I brought this up, and Casey goes, note to self, call Tim and sell him on my $7,000 mastermind next month.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a joke between us, but I'm like, that's how much trust we have in each other. And I think, you were here in Dallas and you actually did another event, and I forget what it was. And I think you were offering your 2-day event that you're doing now, which you're offering it in Colorado, but you're offering it online as well. What's that one called?
We run an event called Networking Riches.
Networking Riches.
And we also have a second event. We have a second event called Follow-Up Riches, mm-hmm. which really dives into deep levels of developing and building systems and processes for businesses to stay in the follow-up sequence. Mm-hmm. Since so many times people don't know how to network. Yeah. Right. And they certainly don't know how to follow up. And so what you have is you have a bunch of people that are out running around pretending to be busy with no system or process in place to follow up with people. Thus, they lose the connectivity, and then they lose the connectivity, and then they've got to go back to networking events because they got to rebuild that connectivity so that they could then not follow up and not stay in touch. And it just creates this cycle of, being broke.
It creates a cycle that goes down as opposed to the cycle that goes up. Yeah. But I mean, I remember you doing that, and I'm driving him everywhere. And I just fill out the form and hand it in. It's like, that's value. All right. I know that anything Casey teaches, I want to show up for it. And that's value. And it's done on the follow through is the next step after that. Yeah, he can network with me all day long, but does he follow through? And how many people, all right, and I know many networking companies you've worked with, how many people do you meet who don't do that follow through?
Well, I can tell you straight up, just the pure statistics, that 80% of people do not follow up more than one time with a client or prospect. 50% never follow up at all. But I'll give everybody the 80% just for funsies, right? But I also know that 90% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact, or the 5th to the 12th touch point. So look, so if you're not following up, right? And let me throw one more thing into the mix, Tim. And I don't know where the scientific data point is on this, but let's just pretend it's out there, and let's just pretend, for the sake of the show today, that it's accurate. And that is this: that for every month you don't have contact with a client or prospect, you lose approximately 10% of your influence, which essentially says this: Tim, I meet you at an event. I don't follow up statistically. A year later, I run into you at another event. There is 0% chance you're going to buy anything. I've got no influence, and I've done no follow-up. Conversely, if I met you at a networking event in January, and every single month I had some version of staying in touch with you, whether it's simple texting like you did to me this morning, hey, I just want to check and see how you're doing, or you're picking up the phone, or you're sending somebody a piece of direct mail. I've got a couple of examples of some different follow-up tools that you can use that are pretty easy. Even if it's something as simple as taking a bunch of books, behind me, you see my bookshelf. Many people have bookshelves filled with books that they're never going to read again. Well, imagine, Tim, if in February I took a bunch of my used books that I didn't really want to use anymore, I didn't get any more value out of them, and I simply sent one to you with a note on the inside that said, hey, Tim, I'm done with this book, but I really think it ought to help you in your business. I've gone and highlighted page 16, 27, 34, and 97 as places where I think you might be able to get some value for your blog and video con business. And I put that in the mail.
Yeah.
The outbound of that's going to cost me what? A couple of bucks for postage? I'm getting rid of clutter. Tim thinks he's hit the jackpot, and everybody wins. But most people won't do that. So they'll run around to a networking event, or they'll jump on a bunch of Zoom calls, and they will think that they are somehow building relationship because they post on Facebook or Instagram and somebody likes it and comments on it. And all of a sudden they think that is the follow-up.
Yeah.
So for me, Tim, one of the ways I look at social media, I think we got to address the social media thing.
Well, that's where I was going to go with this next. But yeah, go ahead.
Here's how I view all social media. I view social media as, and by the way, I'm going to use I don't know if it's a metaphor or an analogy, and it's really about a topic I don't even know that much about. So I hope you guys will just stick with me, right? So here's how I look at it. Let's just take Facebook, right? I look at Facebook as a giant barrel of fish. And all of my friends and all of the people that follow my page and my profile, and all the people that are in groups that I'm in, and all the people that interact with me in Facebook are fish in that barrel. Okay. And every time we add value to the collective base of Facebook, whether it's a show like the Tim Gillette Show going out live on Facebook, whether it's posting blog posts, whether it is sharing somebody you think is awesome, whether it's giving a hack to something, whether it's finding a new tool that you share, what you're really doing is you're fattening the fish in the barrel. The biggest problem, or the biggest challenge I see with people that build in social media, is they think that the end all be all is the barrel of fish. And the reality is you don't own the barrel, and you don't own the water, and you don't own the fish. You are renting space, taking up time in somebody else's fishing hole. Our job is to get those fish so fat and yummy and addicted to the food or the content that we produce that when we go fishing, it's literally becoming like fishing in a barrel. And our ability to stick a fishing pole in the pole of social media or Facebook and bring somebody outside of that ecosystem and jumping on a phone call like Tim and I had, or a text thread back and forth, or Telegram, or Messenger, or jumping into your email list, or jumping onto a conference or a webinar that you're going to do. That's where the tribe is built. See, we've got a lot of people that are running around going, oh, I'm going to get 1 million fans on Facebook. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to crush it, yada, yada, yada. And I go, yeah, but you know what? What happens when Facebook puts you in jail tomorrow? I'm never going to get in Facebook jail. Well, I have it happening to several clients of mine right now. See, we are playing in somebody else's sandbox on every social media platform.
Yeah.
So our job, all of us, every business owner's job, is to remove people out of a rented platform like social media and bring them into our own ecosystem, where we can then have different conversations with them about the products that we sell, the solutions that we provide, the problems that our customers or product have, what makes our customers actually tick, what makes them make decisions and buying decisions, how do they look and evaluate different platforms or different products or services or tools, how do they pick ours? We have to have those communications, you guys, outside of Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. Because look, Tim, you're old enough to remember this. You younger folks won't remember this, but there was life before Facebook. And life before Facebook was called MySpace. Right? Now, just to prove a point here, MySpace was bought by Fox Broadcasting for $600 million. And Justin Timberlake actually bought it for some ridiculous thing like $6 million.
Yeah.
But it's because the audience left, right? And before MySpace, there was even a precursor to MySpace called Friendster. Where's Friendster today? I don't even know if the platform still exists.
Yeah.
And in just the past few years, Tim, we've had Snapchat come on board. We've had TikTok come on board. We've had Periscope come and go on board. We've got all of these different platforms. And you guys, the business is out there. The people that you serve are out there. It's just a matter of you plugging into where they actually are hanging out and talk to them about their problems, and then put in front of them a solution to the problems they tell you about, if and only if you're actually connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Tim, like if you or I were in business together and we served the actor community, the comedian community, or the musician community, I would tell you to go right over to MySpace, which is the social media platform where all creative artistic folks are hanging out. If you're trying to sell fishing poles, then I'd probably do a Facebook group where there's people that are into fishing, but the fishermen aren't hanging out on MySpace.
Yeah.
But the comedians talking about what club owners are good and what travel plans are good and what hotels are good and all of that jazz, they're having that conversation over on MySpace.
Is it still there? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
huge.
I've not been over there yet.
Because your community isn't hanging out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother thing. We got to go and stay connected to where our community actually is.
Yep. Again, because I was going to take this. I mean, when you're talking about when we're going networking events, I was going to talk about online, because I remember you and I having the conversation once of like business cards. So many people think the business card is the greatest thing in the world, not realizing that I'm going to pick up that business card and I can on my phone Google you, and if I find nothing, you know where your business card is going to go, right?
Well, Tim, you are light years ahead of 99.9999999 with a line over it percent of the people.
Yeah,
most people aren't even gonna keep that business card long enough to go Google it. Nor are they in the habit of Googling it. Nor are in the habit of even caring. They are taking business cards. They are taking business cards from a networking event so that they can come home and say that they were busy at a networking event. Those people are never connected with, they're never followed up with, they're never even talked to again. And ultimately, those business cards end up in the trash can. And at the end of the day, none of it matters.
Yeah, no.
None of it matters.
So we started doing a thing with all this stuck at home. And everybody goes, what's the point to it? I mean, I've gotten a few people ask me, even this show here, what's the point? I started doing this happy hour, virtual happy hour. So I pull out the moonshine at 6 o'clock or whatever. I have a taste of it. And I
I
said,
love your definition of taste. I've watched a couple of those happy hours. A little nip.
yeah,
A little nip.
yeah. But I've actually had people from opposite coasts from around the world get on that thing. And, so Steve, what do you do? All right. And next thing you know, they're connecting to people and everybody's going, well, why are you doing this? Is it just to hang out? Well, yeah, it is. Because if we were at an event afterwards, we'd go to the bar and connect with the people at the event. The difference is we're all at home right now. So I created a networking group, if you want to call it. It's called Happy Hour.
And Tim, what that's doing is, again, it's providing a platform that allows your community to get connected and stay connected.
Yep.
Right. I used to have a business partner. Her name is Kay Wallace. You may know Kay.
Yeah.
And we used to do a thing called Finish Friday. And it was every Friday we'd go to this sushi restaurant, and she and I just said, we're going to be here. Come one, come all. This isn't a business thing. Let's just get connected, have fun. 5 o'clock, come join us. You're done by 7. Everybody gets their own check. And it was essentially the offline version of your happy hour.
Yeah.
And even though we made it a point to say, this isn't a business thing, this is all about, let's just stay connected, the amount of business that was done was off the charts. And it was because we provided a platform that allows people to get connected. The same thing that you're doing. I mean, the same thing that you do with Blog and VideoCon is, you're providing a place, a connection point, if you will, for entrepreneurs to come together, exchange ideas, mastermind together, get connected to each other, talk about being guests on each other's show, building out their network, if you will, in an easy platform for a couple of days.
Yep.
Right. It's so important in today's marketplace that we understand that different people want to stay connected differently. I mean, that's a whole nother issue. Is you want to make sure that when you're connecting with somebody, you guys, that you try to find out as best you can the way that they like to be communicated with. And then in your follow-up process, if you will, your follow-up system, you want to make sure that you've got several ways that you're staying in touch with someone. So, for example, I am not really a phone call person. I got to be honest. If Tim tried to call me, I'm not going to pick up the phone. Not because I don't like Tim, not because I don't want to talk to Tim on the phone, but my schedule is pretty packed.
Yeah.
I'm not just an outbound call, hope to get Tim on the phone type of guy. You send me a text, I'm on it in 2 seconds. You send me a Facebook message, I'm on it in 2 seconds. If I can, like today, I happen to be out on a walk. I was walking around. Tim texted me. I would have never thought to just pick up the phone and call Tim. It's not how my brain is wired. In this case, I'm far more reactionary. Meaning, in this case, Tim sends me a text. I pick up the phone and call Tim back. Right?
Yeah.
But again, you try to call somebody, that may not work.
Yeah.
A happy hour online may not work. Sending somebody a card in the mail or a book in the mail may not work. Brownies always work. Let me just tell you.
Shanta Monday, send that one to me. I love it. I think she's doing the same thing.
You send out somebody a brownie. This one happens to say happy birthday. These brownies were especially baked for the birthday of the amazing Casey Eberhart. And you put my name on a brownie and send me a brownie. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lock. Like, that's a lock, right? I love sending out. I have a lot of clients that are in the health and wellness space, right? Or that even if they're not in the business of health and wellness, they are entrepreneurs. They are very mobile. They are moving around a lot of times. So I love, as part of my follow-up process, when I find somebody that I really want to make sure I stay in touch with and stay connected with, I'm creating a personalized, customized water bottle for them. The one I'm holding up, if you're listening to this on iTunes, you won't be able to see it, but it's an amazing water bottle that I took a picture of a friend of mine who posted on Facebook of the most amazing hike waterfall that he was in. And I put that on the front of a water bottle with his initials, and I sent it out to him. Right? I mean, what's going to happen with this water bottle? It's going to get more activity than anything else, because now he's going to use it when he's out at Starbucks or out and about. People are going to ask him about it. If nobody ever in the world asks him about it, it doesn't matter, because what I did was I took a picture that meant something to him and his name, and I put it on something that he'll walk around with forever. And my guess would be that 2 years from now, if you ask him who sent that to him, he'll be able to tell you.
Yep. And that's it. That's the connection. So, but I want to go back to something you said, Casey, that really, gave me an enlightenment to think. You talk about, you said, and I wrote it down there, five, within 5 contacts. All right. And so many people right now, they want to, like you said, they want to do everything on social media, but not realizing how important the 5 contacts are in social media before the phone call. Do you know Scott McCain?
No.
Scott or not. Scott and I had been Facebook friends forever. And I just sent a message like 2 weeks ago saying, "Hey, Scott, you want to be on my thing?" And he goes, "Sure." "Oh, you mean," and you realize, we'd never talked. And he actually said, "This is one of the best interviews I've ever done. I can't believe we've never talked before that." But I've been so engaged with him on Facebook, even though we never met in person, he knew who I was. So many people, you're talking social media, don't realize that is the tool of fattening the fish.
It's totally fattening the fish. Yeah. And it's why, Tim, you can reach out to Scott and he can jump on your show and you guys can have an intelligent conversation. And my guess would be that the conversation by the end of the 40 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour or 7 hours or 20 minutes, no matter what the time was, my guess is that you both were in complete rapport within a very short amount of time. You were able to have an actual conversation, and you probably knew things about him and vice versa that you wouldn't have had or known had we been doing this in the old days where it was like, there's no social media. I don't know anything about you, but I'll put you on my show.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the show has become a spot for me to actually connect with people. All right. And I've seen you do it too, where you basically hop on calls with people and broadcast it on Facebook. And Casey, I don't know if it was you who taught me this, but basically you used to say, interview people. If you have nothing out there right now, just go, "Hey, I'm doing a new podcast. Can I interview you real quick?" And most people are going to be like, "Yeah, okay." And they get excited about it. You get to learn who they are. You're creating content. And now you're able to market your business, and the fact that someone randomly put you on a show. I don't know if it was you who told me that or not.
Yeah. Well, look, I teach this all over the world. Yeah. So we'll even try it on this. If you're listening to this, if you're watching, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to just, if you're by yourself, you can just say the name out loud. If you're wherever you're listening to this or you're watching this, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to physically say somebody's name out loud. Okay. And here's the question. Who is the most powerful woman in the world? Most powerful woman in the world. Now, I hope you said her name out loud. Statistically speaking, 95% will all answer the exact same way. And that's Oprah Winfrey.
Yep.
Once in a while, you'll get the Queen. Once in a while, you'll get Merkel. Once in a while, you'll get a politician. Oprah is almost always number one. She's been off the air for 20 years.
Wow, really that long?
She owns a network and she owns Weight Watchers, so she's kind of got her. She owns but her show, the Oprah Show, has essentially been off the air for a couple of decades. So why is it that I can ask that same question in an audience of 10,000 people, 100 people, or 10 people, and I get the same answer? It's because Oprah created a formula to increase her influence. And that's really what we're talking about here, Tim. And her formula is actually pretty easy. And once I share with you the formula, you'll go, "Oh my gosh, that makes total sense." And it's this: OPC plus TR equals MC. OPC plus TR equals MC. Let's break it down. OPC, other people's content. Tim is having me as a guest on his show. He is using other people's content. That's my content. Plus their reach, my reach. This is going out to my network. There are going to be a bunch of people that tune into this because they happen to like my brand or my style or whatever. And that equals more contacts for Tim. So let's break down a podcast such as this. Tim is the host, AKA Oprah. What does he do? He leverages other people's contacts on other people's content, meaning his guests. They come on, they teach, train, share stories, blah, 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 blah. Other people's content, plus their reach. Tim knows, by the way, that I'm going to promote this show, right? He knows that. He's not an idiot, but he knows I'm going to promote this show. Some of the people that watch this show, tune in or listen to this show are going to go, well, Tim Gillette, he's kind of a hard-hitting interviewer. He's kind of got a good style. He kind of looks like Tom Petty. Well, he's not really Tom Petty. Oh, that's the whole brand of not Tom Petty. And now all of a sudden they're Googling Tim Gillette, or they're tuning into his show. They're jumping on Blog and Video Con, whatever. Now he gets more contacts. So at the end of the day, when you take an interview, if you go on and do a podcast or you do a Facebook Live and all you do is your own self and you just teach and pontificate, that's a bazillion times better than doing nothing.
No.
But it will never outperform the Oprah formula in terms of increasing your influence. It's so vital that as business owners, we really start to understand this. It's our ability to leverage other people's contents. And why? How did Oprah do it? She brings on Tom Cruise to promote a movie. She brings on Tom Cruise. He brings a bunch of people from his social media, right? Because he's going to go say, I'm on Oprah's show. He talks about his content, which is his movie. And what happens? A bunch of people go, I like that Oprah. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to tune into her tomorrow. She's going to introduce Nicole Kidman tomorrow. Right? And so as we go through, you guys, business is relationships. And here's the other thing. Success loves speed, right? So if you are somebody that doesn't have a follow-up process or a system in place, we got to get something in place. Absolutely. I created a whole 20 ways to improve your follow-up checklist and guide that we may talk about a little bit later. But, I designed that because I just like everybody in the companies that I run and the companies that I own and the companies that I'm fortunate enough to be an investor in. I walk in first day and go, okay, what is our process to first off connect with, enhance the lives of, serve at the highest level our referral partners? Who's referring us? Who are our raving fans? Next up, I'm going to work backwards. Who are our customers? How do they know we care about them? How do we know that they know that we love them? Are we programmed in their phone? Do they have a text message that they can get right to us? How do we know that? And then the prospects, right? If you don't have a program in place to take care of your current customers, your past customers, you're going to be left with trying to sell to the hardest group on the face of the planet, which are brand new people.
Yeah.
And Tim, I can go on a tangent over this thing where people are trying to bring in brand new people and they haven't taken care of their current customers or the customers that left. They spend 90% of their resources on this. It drives me nuts. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to that because you actually talked about the Oprah formula. I say it different, but I'm very same thing that you guys hear me on repurpose my content. Very similar idea that I've been sharing for the past couple of years with Blog and Video Con. And I started sharing though too, Casey, and see if you see the twist in content creation, is someone who's perfected Oprah's formula and is starting to do it better than her is Ellen DeGeneres. Would you agree with me on that?
I don't know. Well, yes and no. What Ellen has done is she has just taken Oprah's formula. Let's call Oprah MySpace.
Yeah.
And let's call Ellen Facebook or TikTok, right? Yeah. It's just different times and different. You're further along, but where Ellen has taken the Oprah formula to a whole new level is now she's interacting with people on the show. She's interacting with people in her social media. She's fattening the fish in her social media barrel, all the time by giving prizes away inside of there and connecting with people and all of that jazz. Whereas back in Oprah's day, she didn't really have that. She gave away cars and she gave away studio audience gifts away. So Yes, Ellen, I think, is doing an enhanced on steroids version of Oprah's formula, but I still think it's the same basic formula.
It is the same formula, but what I was going with that was the idea that, you know what I mean? Ellen is putting a lot of her own original content. Like she creates her own games. Oprah didn't. Oprah was just interviews, if you think about it. And it's like, that's like every chance you get, guys, no matter how much you think that that formula has been perfected. I can't perfect it. Right there's an example that you can perfect a formula. I can take Casey's formulas and make them Tim's and make them better. And everybody goes, well, that's Casey's formula. Well, no, that's different. So that's Tim's formula. Oh,
yeah. Well, it's Tim. It's like we train heavy in our mastermind program. A program that I actually brought over a version of it from another friend of mine named Ray Higdon, and it's ILT is the acronym, and it stands for Invest, Learn, Teach. Okay, and it simply says this. Invest some time, energy, money, or resources. Could be money, could be, brain power, could be just time. Learn something new, and then turn right around and teach it.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, if you learn something off of this show from Tim, you've invested an hour or two in listening to this, you learn something new, turn around and teach it. And if you feel as though you got to give Tim credit, awesome. Give Tim credit.
Yeah.
Hey, I learned this from Tim Gillette. I was listening to his show, and what he talked really about was he talked about blah, 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 blah. Bam. Now you're fattening your own fish and you're leveraging and you're sharing it. And here's the kicker. The kicker is if you share something that Tim shares with you, or you learn something from Tim, here's the thing. He's going to pay attention.
Yeah.
He's got the influence. So if Tim says, I'm doing happy hours, right? Check this out, guys. Tim said on this call, I'm doing these happy hours, right? Everybody gets on. It's pretty social, blah, blah, blah. It's happy hour time. I'm sipping, and I'll put that in air quotes for you if you're listening. I'm tasting moonshine.
Yeah.
Right. So now here's the deal. We all have the opportunity. We've all been given a nugget. We've all been given a piece of information, right? If you were to go on Facebook or YouTube or whatever and share that Tim is doing a happy hour, come join Tim in his happy hour, I'm going to be there, and you tag Tim in it, I promise you that Tim is going to be paying attention to that. Yeah. Tim in this case is Oprah. Oprah is the one with influence. Tim is now the one with influence. Don't you think it's possible that when you show up on the happy hour, all of a sudden Tim's like, Case, what's going on? Hey, thanks for sharing on Facebook, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Because you made Tim influential. He's going to pay attention. That's why if you're writing blog posts and you get something from Tim or somebody else, give them credit in it and then send them the dang blog post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like look, I'm a total dweeb and a nerd. I have a Google alert set on myself.
Yeah.
Right. Which means that anytime somebody mentions me on the internet, I get a notification that says, hey, this blog wrote about you. This magazine article came out on you, so on and so forth. Right. Tim, I am shocked that about 95% of people that are like I am so honored to be quoted, or they've learned something that I've done at some event or some video, and they write about it in a blog post or they do a video on it, and they don't ever tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hello, McFly.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that you were going to do a blog post on me, or if you told me that you were going to do a video on me, well, then by golly, let me share that to my network, because you're making me feel special.
Yeah.
I want to then leverage that out to my network as well.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like what I did. That's what got me to meet Craig Duswalt. All right. Which eventually connected me to you, was because I was doing a blog post and I was following Craig online, and I wrote him an email and I said, hey, I'm writing a blog post about you. Is there anything you would like me to list in there, or anything that you want I can say about you? He was on the phone with me 30 minutes later. All right. This is a guy I'm following online, and he sends me this text or email, call me, and the phone number. Well, like, if you're following him and you think all of a sudden this guy's great and he gives you a phone call real quick, do you think that want to make me want to promote him more? And the more I promote him, what do you think he's going to want to do? Well, thank you, Tim. Tim wrote this article about me. I didn't even know Tim. I didn't. Yeah.
And Tim, how long ago was that? How many years?
That was 8-9 years ago.
Okay, so for those of you that are taking notes and you're wanting to see the lesson in the lesson,
yeah.
So we've been chatting now. We just clipped over 40 minutes together, and if you've listened to Tim talk, he's mentioned Craig Duswalt's name multiple times throughout this interview, multiple times.
Yeah. Do you think Craig has influenced me?
Craig is an influencer, but understand that what Craig has done brilliantly is made Tim feel special enough that Tim still talks about him.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I mean, if you're in Craig's space at all, you're going to hear Tim Gillette all the time.
Yeah.
This is the Oprah effect, you guys. Tim reached out to Craig, somebody that he valued, right? And that he followed and they learned stuff from and said, hey, I'm going to do a blog post on you. Is there anything that you can add to this or whatever? 8 years later, we are still talking about Craig Duswalt on live podcasts.
Yeah.
So
as a matter of fact, he called me today too with because I did the same thing to him.
Yeah. I mean, and look, but this is the thing, you guys, here's take this note. I gap people. Gap stands for grab a pen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This might be a writer downer.
That's my line, a writer downer. Did you steal that from me?
Here's the thing. Influencers hang out with other influencers.
Yeah.
They just do. It's just a fact. It's why, like, when you go to speaker events, all the speakers are outside. It's not for any other reason than that's their peeps. That's who they hang out with.
Yeah.
So if you want to gain influence in your marketplace, whether it's a localized marketplace or a nationwide or international or whatever, one of the easiest ways to do that, guys, is to start paying attention to what the influencers in your space are talking about and then promote them to your network.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so easy to do. And most influencers are driven mostly by ego, quite frankly. A lot of them are. So if you share their content to your Facebook page, or you write a blog post on them, or you ask them to be on a show, or you promote their Facebook lives or whatever, they're going to pay attention.
So, before we wrap this up today, Casey, I'm going to bring this up and say this, and I'm not going to use names. I'm just going to use you and other person is all I'm going to say. Is in the past 2 weeks, I've talked to 2 very powerful network marketers. One of them is Casey Eberhart, who's on the show today. The other one, I'm not going to name. He's just someone I know. And I told you guys that Casey Eberhart reached out to me one time because he needed to make a sale. And I said, yep, sure. This other one has only reached out to me. I've known this other person for 5 years, has only reached out to me whenever they were trying to make a sale. They never once called me, texted me, and just, hey, how you doing? Every time they connect with me, it's like, oh, here comes another sales pitch. Do you think if that was being happened to you, do you think you'd want to take those calls? Casey, what's the correction he needs to do?
So, Tim, here's the thing. This is more of a philosophical answer, right?
I think this is our controversial moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it's super controversial. Yeah. But what I can say is this: I personally, my personal philosophy, my core value in how I build relationships, whether I'm talking about my network marketing business or any of the traditional businesses that I have a part of or that I own part of, or even our mastermind program, it doesn't really matter to me what domain we're working in. At the end of the day, here's how I think of every move I make. First off, I try to play the game of chess, which is thinking 3, 4, 5 moves out, right? Now, by the way, your other buddy, he's a checkers player.
Yeah.
He's not thinking strategy at all. It's just like, oh, Tim's a sitting duck. Tim's a mark. I'll call him and see if he'll buy something, right? When somebody calls me or I call them, now, I am an iPhone user, okay? Now, if you are not an iPhone user, my first piece of advice is become an iPhone user. No, I'm joking. But when somebody calls you on an iPhone, you have 2 options. There's a green button and there's a red button. Red button sends them to voicemail. green button connects. My goal is always to be a green button person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think most people think that through very well.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at just trying to pound through a bunch of phone calls just to pound through a bunch of phone calls. And there is some time for that in a marketing or a sales deal. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you guys, if you would just act as though you want somebody to actually pick up the phone and talk, it's huge. And I'll give you an example, Tim, of what we do as part of one of my organizations.
Mm-hmm.
In one of my organizations, one of the ways that we recruit, if you will, or sponsor or build the network marketing business, and this flies in the face of so many trainers, it's not even funny. We have this thing where we have the whole team pick up the phone and call somebody they have not talked to in over 6 months. But here's the kicker. They are not allowed to talk about business or their business unless the other person asks.
Wow.
So it is really powerful in building connections with people that we haven't talked to in over 6 months to reconnect. And we ask tons and tons of questions. How are they doing? What's going on in their family? What's going on in their business? How are you holding up in this crazy time we're living in now? How are you moving forward? What's going on in your business? But unless that person says, hey, Case, what's going on with you? Or what business are you doing? Or what's in your deal? We're not allowed to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know it, our organization builds faster than some of the other organizations that are out there doing things a little bit differently. Mm. It's because connectivity is today's new currency.
Yep.
Much like Bitcoin is today's new currency.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going on a cryptocurrency tangent. That's a different set of podcasts.
Yeah.
But it's just critical. It's why I created this follow-up guide. It's why I do messaging. It's why I train literally all over the world, and I'm brought in to talk about connectivity mm-hmm. and networking and follow-up and bringing people together and bringing groups and teams and communities together. It's because by doing that, we ultimately create the bond and the trust and the credibility that in today's marketplace is so absolutely important in making sales and bringing people into the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that right there is probably, like you said, that's why you got better results. All right, and that is why I will take Casey's call almost every time he calls. I think there's only been one time where I was stuck on a call or something. And I was like, I can't right now, and I sent the message. I'm sorry, I'm on another call. I'll call you back in a minute. I cannot just send him to voicemail because he's always learned to connect with people. And that gets him exactly the green button on me every time. I hope you guys learned that from that piece right there. Yeah. So Casey, all right, I know we've had a great conversation here, and I know there's tons more. How can people get in touch with you right now if they want to follow up, maybe do a connection with you and see what you do?
Yeah. So guys, the easiest way, honestly, is to go jump over at expandthebusiness.com. If you go to expandthebusiness.com, I've got a free follow-up guide. It's 20 ways to improve your follow-up, right? And there's a guide and a checklist. So we've created 2 different documents. One is just a checklist to help you kind of create the process. And then I created a guide of 20 different ways for you to follow up with folks. Really in depth. I really go into each different element. And that's probably the easiest way is go to expandthebusiness.com. You can jump on there, grab the download. I am a big Facebooker. I live pretty much on Facebook. I have profiles on Instagram and YouTube and YouTube I'm on, but and LinkedIn. I'll be honest with you, just not my primary focus. Primary focus for me is Facebook. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Facebook, and if you head over to, like I said, if you head over to Expand the Business, grab your guide. You and I will be connected. We'll send you some emails showing you some cool stuff and some cool hacks and some cool tricks, and really help you get down the road further than where you are today, and helping you save time and make more money connecting with, following up with, and networking with people, even in today's completely online environment.
Yep. Yeah, we are completely online now, aren't we?
Yeah, just for a little bit. I mean, the funny thing is nothing really changed for me. I I'm busier than I've ever been before.
Me
And
too.
I think that just becomes a piece of all of the follow-up and the connecting and the building relationships that were done before some event actually keeps the process going through whatever event you're in. So whether you're listening to this in 2092 or today, it doesn't really matter. The principles and the concepts are still going to be extremely valid.
They are. So, well, thank you, Casey Eberhart, for being on my show. You know what I mean? I've got something I like to close my show out with. I don't know, Casey, if you've heard that this is what happens at Tim Gillette show. We play a game.
I have been given a warning, so that's why I had a few nips of moonshine before we started. I'm totally joking, you guys.
I learned this from watching Sammy Hagar. Again, I learned from watching TV. Sammy Hagar does this on his show, and I'm like, I want to do something like that. So I created my own.
So let me get this straight. Since you're not Tom Petty, you're trying to be Sammy Hagar. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not. Actually, I had another friend that looked like Sammy Hagar, and I tried to tell him buy not SammyHagar.com, and he wouldn't do it. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Anyway, I've got a series of questions, this or that questions, written down.
Okay.
Specifically, I think some of these will address Casey Eberhart, and some of them, just random. So let's start off with the first one I like to always start off with, and that is Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Oh, wow. I guess the first trilogy too, right?
Yeah, and that's honestly for no other reason than I love the movies as a kid. But my favorite TV show is Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
And so I've got my dose of both wrapped up in nerdism, so.
So this next one here goes to a little bit about what I know about you.
Oh, geez.
Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
Oh, that's a no-brainer. I mean, considering if you're watching this live, you'll notice that right behind me is my 40th anniversary of the Enchanted Tiki Room Mickey Mouse ears. I am a pass holder for Disney. I'm a huge Disney fan. I'm so much a Disney fan, I don't even remember what you said was the other option.
Well, and wait a minute. And I just looked, all right, believe it or not, an email came in. A Disney Imagineer booked for my podcast tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the next one here, mountains or beach?
No question. I'm a West Coast, LA, Malibu boy. I don't get mountains. I think they're pretty in postcards, but I'd so much rather be at the beach, feet in the water, the waves lapping, the sun shining. How long of a walk is it for you to get to the beach? I'm just curious. It would be a bit of a walk. It's about a 15-20 minute drive, but I love beaches and coasts and the water way more than the mountains.
So this next one here is going down to some of the food preferences, and I didn't include ones you and I have shared. I went with different ones.
Okay.
Taco or hamburger?
Oh boy. I'm gonna go with the good old fashioned burger.
Yeah.
Although I live in Los Angeles, so the tacos here are absolutely amazing. But I think I got to go with a burger for sure.
Okay. I got one more food one coming up, but anyway, text or email?
Oh boy, text for me in terms of building relationships and staying connected and staying communicative. No question. And partly Tim, that's because of how we are as a culture. Yeah. You send an email, you've got about a 10% chance of it getting read. You send a text, you've got about a 99% chance. So from a messaging standpoint, text, how I like to be communicated with, text. Boy, I don't even know where I would prefer an email. I guess the only way I'd prefer an email is if it was a recap of a text or a phone call conversation.
So this next one here, all right, because I know which part of the country, and you have to choose one of them because it's not in your neighborhood, and that is pizza, Chicago style or New York style.
Here. I don't have a good answer because I don't know the difference. Here's what I want: a thin, crispy crust pepperoni pizza.
That's New York style.
Well, then New York, baby, New York.
That's my favorite too. So how about or wine or beer? Weir or bine?
What?
Oh, weir or bine? Bine, beer or wine?
In fact, beer is so much that I actually am part owner of a craft beer house up in Maple Valley, Washington. So I'm a more of a beer guy. Although I have to say, I mean, I feel like I'm a little wishy-washy in all of this.
Yeah.
I love everything about wine except the taste.
Yeah.
Or how it makes me feel the next day. I should say that. But I love the colors. I love the culture. I love the vibe. I actually like the taste. I hate how I feel the next day.
Yeah. So my last two, I should say, this next one here could be a war. All right. And the problem is many don't have this right now to fight over it. And that is toilet paper, under or over.
Oh, over. I don't get the under people. They make no sense. They make no sense.
My last interview was an under person. It's the first one I've had in a week.
They don't make any sense. There's no way for you to logically explain. Everybody that's ever had that argument that does the under, it's because they have not, first off, they have not realized the improvement that they could do by just flipping the toilet paper roll. Number two, they just are the people that want to go against the grain and like plant their flag and argue over something that's stupid and irrelevant, because over is the only way to go. Like it doesn't make any other sense.
That has been an interesting question over the past month of doing it.
You learn a lot about people when you start asking them questions about their toilet paper, Tim.
Yeah. So here's my last one here. All right. Boxers or briefs?
I'm gonna go with briefs. I love the idea of boxers. I was a boxer dude for many, many years. But in today's marketplace, I'm wearing a lot of sweatpants. And so I just find that briefs are a little bit better for the sweatpant generation. You know?
So it's designed to be a fun questionnaire. I love have fun doing it. So one more time, I've got it up on the screen for those watching the video, but those listening to the audio, your website, Casey Eberhart, so they can get a hold of you.
Go to www.expandthebusiness.com. You guys, I'm super stoked to have you with us. Thank you, Tim, once again for inviting me on the show. For the audience that you guys are listening on iTunes, subscribe to Tim's show, share it out. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or one of the podcast audio versions, this show lives and dies by reviews. So if you get some value out of today, go give it a 5-star. If you think it was under 5-star, go listen to another episode of Tim's and then give him a 5-star. If this show didn't give you at least a 5-star warm cockle in your heart, go listen to a past episode and then go give him a 5-star review. Same with whenever you're on YouTube, podcasting, blogs, videos. You guys, these podcasters are out there working to bring you value and content. Share the love, share their content, share, like, comment, subscribe. You know all the verbs. Do all the verbs. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on and joining us today, Casey Eberhart. Guys, this is another episode of the Tim Gillette Show, and we're here. We're done. I appreciate you coming by. Go check out Casey Eberhart and follow him, all right, and see why we're such great friends. I'll see you next time with another episode. Go ahead, subscribe, share out with your friends, all right, and become part of our wonderful community. I'm Tim Gillette. I'll see you next time.
Awesome. Ciao, guys.